in rate increases of 38% if it has to find baseload capacity without financial help from Ottawa. Ottawa has pledged financial help, but can you promise that the phase out of the Belledune plan and the implementation of a price on carbon won't impact power rates?
First of all, thank you for the question. I had a good conversation with Premier Gallant about this this morning and other issues in which we emphasized the great working relationship between the province and Ottawa on this issue and on a broad range of issues. And we're going to make sure that the phase out is done appropriately and responsibly in a way that both meets our commitments around climate change and also ensures that New Brunswickers and indeed Atlantic Canadians don't get unduly impacted. That's part of why at the center of our plan for a national pricing on carbon pollution, we are ensuring that the provinces keep all the revenue that comes in from carbon pricing and ensure that it can be returned to the people who are most vulnerable and in most need of extra support as we make this transition towards reducing our use of fossil fuels. Prime Minister Harry Ford. Sorry, there's a question. There's a mic over there, Harry.
I have a follow-up too. New Brunswick received a record number of immigrants in 2006, slated to do the same in 2007 with the addition of a new Atlantic pilot project. But retention rates of newcomers in New Brunswick have been amongst the worst in the country. What is Ottawa's role in ensuring that immigrants don't head to other provinces at first opportunity? And if retention rates don't get better, will you pull the Atlantic project?
Well, we've recognized the challenges and the opportunities around immigration to Atlantic Canada as part of our Atlantic growth strategy, which is focused on 5 main themes: skills development and immigration, infrastructure, innovation, climate change and clean growth, and finally, yeah, I did them out of order, so now I'm skipping on the last one, which is, it's a broad range of issues that obviously are going to strengthen our communities in meaningful ways. We need to not just bring immigrants in to Canada, but we need to give them opportunities to succeed. And obviously, the economic impact on communities across New Brunswick and across Atlantic Canada are very positive to welcome in people, but we need to make sure that we're creating the jobs and the opportunities for them to succeed. And that's, as that moves forward, we need to continue to monitor our success and ensure that we are creating the growth that people in Atlantic Canada need by bringing in good people from around the world. Thanks.
Prime Minister, good morning. This has to do with Mark Norman. There's such a cloud of secrecy surrounding this case. This was the military's number 2, and he was relieved of duty without any explanations. Can you tell us today what Mark Norman did? Don't Canadians deserve to know? And can you at least confirm whether or not the RCMP is investigating?
The Chief of Defence Staff took a decision, and this government supports General Vance in the decision that he took, and I have nothing further to say on this at this time.
How concerned have Canada's allies been about a possible security breach stemming from this?
We continue to engage with our allies on an ongoing basis to demonstrate the seriousness with which we take issues of security, because it's essential for the cooperation, the collaboration we have, not just with our Five Eyes allies, but indeed with partners around the world. And we have an excellent working relationship with them and continue to reassure them and work with them to make sure that we're living up to the high standards we expect of ourselves and that the world expects of Canada.
Michel Brideau, RDI. Monsieur Trudeau, vous dites que l'Agacan est un ami de longue date. Alors, combien de fois êtes-vous allé sur son île?
So how many times have you been on this
Comme
private
j'ai dit,
island?
c'est une vacance
As I
privée,
said, it was a private
une vacance
vacation,
de
a
famille
vacation, a
personnelle.
family vacation, personal family vacation. And
Je suis en train de répondre aux questions.
I'm currently
que la
answering
commissaire
questions
Halitic
that the
a
ethics
pour nous
commissioner has for us
Alors,
in
vous êtes
this
allé
regard.
combien de fois?
So how many times
Je
you've been
continue de
there?
répondre aux questions
I'll
de
continue
la
to
commissaire
answer
éthique.
to the
Je connais
ethics
l'AGACAN
commissioner's
depuis que
questions.
je suis,
I've known
très jeune,
AGACAN since a
et,
young age,
et
and
je continue de
I
répondre à
will
toutes les questions
continue
de
to
la commissaire
answer
éthique.
the
Vous avez
ethics
déjà un
commissioner's
rendez-vous avec
questions.
elle, et si oui, quand?
Do you have an
Mon
appointment
bureau
with
est en
her,
train
and
de
when?
travailler
My
avec
office
son
is
bureau
working
pour,
with her
organiser
office
les
to
prochaines
organize
étapes et
the
réponses
next
à ces
stages
questions.
and to answer
Good
her
morning, Jacques
questions.
Poitras from CBC News. First, a question for my CBC colleagues about Grassy Narrows. Your office has put out a statement that the federal government will act effectively on this. Does that include a federal role in the cleanup? And if so, why now when the answer's been no before?
We are obviously ensuring that the Mercury Compensation Board moves forward in a responsible way, and we're working with the province on resolving this issue. My government is committed to ending boil water advisories across this country. We've moved forward on 14 of them already. We have many more to do in the coming years, and we continue to work with partners like the province of Ontario to deal with water issues.
And on the carbon tax, you just mentioned earlier that the idea of returning revenue to the people who need it most. In this province, there's no plan for general tax cuts to make it revenue neutral, and the province is emphasizing spending it on programs. So how will that affect people's pocketbooks if they're paying more and not getting some back elsewhere?
The issue we have on the federal side is to ensure that revenues collected from the pricing of carbon remain in the province that collects them, and it'll be up to the provincial government to determine how best to help people through this important transition.
Michel Corriveau, Radio-Canada, Fredericton. J'ai une question sur le
I have a
projet
question
Énergie
regarding
Est.
the Energy
Je
East
comprends qu'il va y
project.
avoir
I understand
des
that there will
audiences qui vont
be some
reprendre, mais j'aimerais
hearings
voir
that will
votre
happen, but
position. Pensez-vous
I'd like to know
encore
what's your
avec le
position.
projet
You
dans
still
l'Ouest
think with the
canadien,
Western
Keystone,
Canada
peut-être qui
project
va
that
ouvrir
is
vers le sud. Est-ce
that
que
will
c'est
open
encore
to the
viable
south? Is
d'avoir
it still
ce projet-là?
viable
Est-ce que
to
c'est
have
encore
this
possible?
Energy East project? Is it still possible? Well, that's not a question for the federal government. It's a question of process. That's the type of question that we will discuss, that Canadians will discuss, and on which people will look at in the next years of the process in order to look at this Energy East oil pipe. And, well, as you know, Brian Gallant is backing this project. Are you on the same foot than him on this? Well, the responsibility of the federal government on this is not to be a salesperson or sold to a project like this. We are here to ensure of arbitration and in a way or to make sure that there's a rigorous process to evaluate and assess the project, to look at the support and the preoccupations and to make a decision on how to go ahead. And preceding government spent all its time to try to encourage pipelines, and instead of listening and go with a rigorous process, we prefer this rigorous process, and we will enable it to continue.
Prime Minister, good morning. Harry Forrestal from CBC Television. Found the right mic this time. Can you give us one example? You've had several of these town hall meetings now. Can you give us one example of a policy you're willing to change or modify because of what you've heard from voters gathered at this town hall?
A number of them. Obviously, a number of the issues that people bring up are issues that we are very aware of and need to work more. I mean, the compelling stories of veterans or of the Phoenix pay system challenges are certainly something that is further motivation to continue working on things that are important to us. But for example, in my very first town hall in Kingston, an individual rose to talk about the transgender community in correctional facilities and how there's a need to think through how we deal with transgendered Canadians who are incarcerated. And that's not something that was on my radar. I think it was something that was probably on public safety's radar in general, but certainly making sure that we move forward in a way that is fair and responsible and consistent with our values is is really important. So having someone highlight that directly to me as an issue that I and most Canadians, quite frankly, probably hadn't thought of, is exactly the kind of example that I'm happy to highlight and to move forward on.
You mentioned the Phoenix Pay system. Do you have firmer numbers on that now? Because the last time you talked about that at a town hall, you were criticized for not having the right numbers.
We actually talked about the fact that the backlog of Phoenix, which had been up in the 80 to 100,000 backlogs, was down to 8,000 in terms of the backlog preceding the summer. There have been more cases brought up since, and we're continuing to work on those. But people understand that this is something that this government finds unacceptable, and that we're working very, very hard to fix. And the folks just down the road in Miramichi are doing excellent work in terms of making sure that people get paid for the work they do. It's something all Canadians expect, and they have a right to expect it. And it's unacceptable that this is continuing to be a problem.
Thank you. A quick question for my colleagues in Ottawa. What response have you had from Stéphane Dion to the job offer you mentioned last week?
I've had some good conversations with Mr. Dion over the past week and a half, and he's continuing to reflect on the significant responsibilities we're proposing to him as we engage with the world in responsible and thoughtful ways to realize the opportunity and the challenges that Canada is facing in its global leadership.
Last question to Canadian Press.
Hi, Keith Doucette, Canadian Press. President-elect Donald Trump spoke again yesterday with the need to put a stiff tariff on imports going into the United States. You should know Canada is a major sender into the U.S. market, and our collective livelihood depends on that continuing. Beyond shuffling the deck chairs, what measures can you take to assure trade flows and prices will continue as strong as ever?
We are very much engaged with the incoming administration on these issues and others. We're focused on having a constructive working relationship with the new administration, and one in which we highlight the depth of integration and interconnectedness between our two economies. Obviously, there are millions of Canadian jobs that depend on the U.S. market, but there are also millions of American jobs that depend on smooth integration and flow back and forth across the border of goods and services. In fact, 35 different American states have Canada as their #1 export destination. So we are very confident that with our similar mandates to grow the middle class, to help hardworking Canadians and Americans, we're going to be able to find common ground to ensure that both of our economies prosper in the coming years.
And finally, Trump has refreshed his criticisms of NATO, and now the chair of your own Foreign Affairs Committee is suggesting Canada needs to meet Trump's challenge and raise its contributions. Do you agree with this assessment, and will you see a big funding increase coming soon?
Canada is broadly recognized among NATO partners and indeed in the world as a country that is always there when there's heavy lifting to do, when there's a need for people to step up. Canada is there on the front lines contributing fully to NATO operations. Indeed, us stepping up as a framework nation in the Baltic states, taking the lead in Latvia in Eastern Europe is a great example of how Canada continues to be an extraordinarily important player in NATO, and we will continue to be a reliable partner, not just to the United States, but to all of our allies as we move forward. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.